I have a love-hate relationship with Power Automate, particularly when things go wrong and I've got to painstakingly debug my Cloudflow to see why it's not doing what I want it to do. Well, don't worry. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the Dataverse Coding Agents in GitHub Copilot and VS Code to massively speed up the process of debugging Cloudflows in Power Automate. Let's get into it. All right, so here is my Cloudflow. It is the risk escalation handler, and you can see down here that it is failing. It's run a couple of times, and it has failed each time. Now, pre-coding agents, what did you have to do? Well, you've got to go into each failed run and determine why is it failing. So we've got to dig through our steps here to see, okay, it's failing on this. It's looking, it looks like it's trying to sum something up and it's not getting what it needs in order to do that. Then we've got to go click edit and we've got to take a look at what the flow is doing, get some more detail on this. So when I come in here to the flow, take a look at this average health score, and it looks like it's trying to do some math. So probably we're passing the wrong type of parameter in. We might be passing a string when it's looking for a number or something like that. So we've got to go make changes to our expression, and then we've got to retest the flow and so on and so forth. This is a pretty iterative process, and it can take some time. Generally speaking, my rule of thumb is call it half a day to edit any Cloudflow. Now, that's going to vary, and before people jump into the comments, some are faster, some are longer, but generally speaking, you're looking at about half a day to edit a Cloudflow, test it, deploy it to prod, something like that. All right. How can we do this better with the coding agents in VS Code, the new Dataverse coding agents? Well, let's open up VS Code here. And I've already got Copilot running. So firstly, let's just make sure that we are in YOLO mode so that we don't get bugged by constant requests for, nice, we're in YOLO mode. All right. Let's go ahead and let's put a prompt in here. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to look up this flow and I want to just get a nice summary of what is it actually doing. Instead of having to go through the flow, let's say we've got an ADO bug saying, hey, this flow is not working. Perhaps you didn't build it. So let's just quickly get a summary of what it's doing. Now, let's pop this in. Let's put this into plan mode before we run it on autopilot, and let's see what it comes back with. So I'm being asked a question. This looks like a straightforward lookup summary rather than an implementation task. Would you like me to skip the formal plan and just connect to the environment, find the flow, and give you the summary directly? Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. Let's do that. So it has come up with what it needs to do. This is pure lookup and research, going to connect to the environment, and it's going to give me a summary of what this does. So yep, let's accept this and build it on the default permissions. Okay, and we've got a response. So it found the flow, and this is a Power Automate flow. It was built for a YouTube demo, which you're watching now. Thank you very much. It fires when a new row is added to the risk table. It checks if it's a high or critical risk. If it's active, it looks for the health review rows, looks over the items, averages the scores, and then if the average is below 70, it creates a follow-up action in Dataverse. So that's what it's doing. All right, now it has found the bug, and this is, of course, intentional for the sake of the demo. The select step wraps the score reference in a string interpolation, which coerces the numbers to text. The subsequent sum fails because it can't add strings together. It needs to add numbers. So we need to make this change to the flow. And again, this is where if you're doing it in the WYSIWYG, this can get really geeky, having to work with the expressions. Shout out to my man, Joe Unwin, FlowJoe, for being the real pioneer in this space, helping us understand what these things do. But for low coders like myself, this was a difficult thing to get my head around. All right, so now that we know what the flow does, we know what the error is. Let's ask it to fix it. So let's say, can you fix this flow for me? And run a test once you've fixed it. So again, let's put this in plan. Okay, so we have got a plan. We know what's wrong. We've got a string where we need a number and we need to change this. So we are going to update this flow. We're going to change the select expression and we're going to add a expression in to change that string to a number. We're then going to rerun the flow and see how it works. So that's what we're going to do. The cool thing about Power Automate is behind the scenes, it's all just JSON. So GitHub Copilot can interact with it really well, particularly with the Dataverse coding skills from the Dataverse team. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accept this and build it on autopilot. Let's see how we go. All right, so we have applied the fix to the flow and we are getting ready to run the test. Okay, now GitHub Copilot is triggering the flow to run and test it. All right, so he's running into a little bit of trouble while he's testing some things, seeing things it doesn't expect. So he's going to deactivate and reactivate the flow. And so we're still waiting for this test to complete, but it's really cool watching the agent reason through what's happening and watch it just think through how to solve the problem and how to fix it. So we had to go to the Power Automate API, and it looks like it accidentally hard-coded a literal string, so it's just going to clean that up and then rerun the test. Okay, so it found the issue. It looks like it's stripped something out of the one of the pieces of dynamic data in Power Automate, so it's going to fix that and try it again. All right, so it found another error while debugging. The array wasn't valid. Now, this is pretty cool because it confirmed via Microsoft Docs. That is something that it can do in the background using the Microsoft Learn MCP server. Highly recommend you set that up to work in tandem with your Dataverse coding agents because it's going to make GitHub Copilot just so much more powerful, being able to scan all of the documentation from Microsoft while it is helping you do things like build and debug. Okay, we're done. So what happened was we had the intended bug that was in the flow when I created it. I actually used GitHub Copilot to create the flow, and I said intentionally stick a bug in there so I could record this demo. But there was also a second bug in there as well. So we had to fix both. So we ended up having to do a little bit more major surgery on the flow than intended. If I was doing this again, I would probably tell it to build it so it works and then introduce the bug. But that's all right. We live and learn and have a lot of fun along the way. So we've fixed the flow. It's discovered that simply resetting the state code does not recompile the flow. It's actually got to turn it off and turn it on again. It's done everything. It's run a test. So let's go ahead and let's go back into our environment here to our flow. And let's verify the results. So we can see all of the failed runs. So it tried a few times to run it, kept failing, and then we got a succeeded run. So it has successfully fixed our flow. Let's see if we could maybe do it one more time and go down the other path where the severity and status is no. So let's maybe see if we can get it to do that just to fully be confident that this has worked. So let's come back here and let's say run one more test. This time ensure that the condition checking severity, spell it right, severity is false. So let's run this and let's see what happens. Now this time, let's put this onto autopilot and just go ahead and run it. All right, so it's had a successful test. Something that I really like here is that it is verifying in the run history that it actually worked as intended and not a masked failure. So I'm sure you've seen a succeeded step before in Power Automate. When you dig in, actually nothing happened. So that's what it's making sure of. And then what it's doing is it's going in and it's cleaning up the test records that it inserted to test this. Now, that is really great unless you wanted to go in and actually verify yourself, which is something in a production system or as part of a project I would actually do. And so you'll definitely want to tell the coding agent, hey, leave your test data there, particularly in something like UAT. I want to go manually verify the records that were added to Dataverse to trigger the flow or that were created as part of the flow run. But it's gone and done everything that we've asked it to do. So let's get back to Power Automate. Let's refresh our run history. We can see that we had a successful run. Let's dig into it just to actually verify that it did what we expect. And expression was false and the flow terminated. Awesome. So we have successfully updated, debugged our flow in VS Code using the Dataverse Coding Agents and the command line interface. Now, if I was working on a project, next thing I would do is I would then package this in a solution and ship it off to the next environment, which you can do here in the CLI, and I've shown you how to do in previous videos. One thing I like to do to wrap up these sessions is say, based on what you learned, either update your existing skills or create a new one if required. So let's go ahead and do that. That way it's self-learning. It's always getting smarter every time we run it. So let's go ahead and update our skills. Okay, so we've updated our skills. It's taken the lessons learned and updated its internal skills so that next time it knows a bit more and can go a bit farther. That's how to use the Dataverse Coding Agents in the GitHub Copilot CLI in VS Code to debug cloud flows in Power Automate. Saves heaps of time, makes the process so much simpler than it used to be. That's it from me. Go do something awesome on the Power Platform today, and I'll talk to you soon.